This is episode number 14 of season 4. And our guest today is Ben Alexis, who is a touring photographer working with the likes of Bush, Saison. I saw Arch Enemy on your resume.
Yeah, this summer and Sabaton for
Insane.
most of the fall. Yeah, so super busy year, which is fantastic, and yeah, very, very, very thankful for all the work. So super, super cool.
And super crazy list of people you work with. And
Yes.
how long have you been a touring photographer and how did you get into it?
So, I mean, the big shift was definitely during COVID because I was doing a lot more production work before, the world stopped. And then, you're always like, what would I do if everything just stopped? But it was like, okay, I just moved to Sweden and I had no friends and I have no job. I have nothing but time. And, photography had been more of like a hobby or an interest. But all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, cool. We got time to just get into this. So just started taking a lot of photos, and then because I'd been in a lot of touring situations for the last 20 years, one of my good friends, Ken Susi, he was like, "Hey, I just joined Desolate Dying. You should come with us. I didn't know you took awesome photos." I was like, "All right, let's do it." So that was kind of my back to touring from saying I would never tour again. Which was like a little bit of an internal, like, I don't know, do I want to go back in? I'm pretty comfy just working production and doing festivals, but um, definitely was the right move and kind of one of those things where like I'm open to it, and then people just started showing up like, hey, you want to come out with us? So like Sabaton hit me up like maybe 2 years after I had started with As Lay Dying, was like, what are you doing this fall? And so started working with them, and it was a great fit, and it's just kind of been one thing after another. It's the joys of freelancing. You never know what's coming up or who's going to call, but it's been super cool.
I mean, that's a sign of how good you are when you never have to seek work. It keeps coming to you.
Well,
Yeah.
there's definitely a degree of like hustle to where you have to like constantly be like putting yourself out there on social media, like, hey, yeah, I do this, or this is what I'm doing now, or sometimes tours disappear, sometimes plans change, so just being able to like shift and find work or a way to use that time to turn it into work or something beneficial. So it's I don't know. I've been freelance my whole life, so it's kind of like, when there's work, cool. Sometimes it disappears. Okay, that's cool too. We figure it out.
Oh yeah, we all know the hustle, Vicky and me, same.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the same deal. Um, would you ever go back to the production side? Is that something where you're like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do that again? Or do you enjoy photography that much that you're like, hell no, I will not get into that stressful world again. I'm just doing my, yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely
more
a
creative
different
part.
headspace to be like the show when I'm doing photo and video, the show's gonna happen regardless of me being involved in like production, like a million things that come up in the day. It's like, oh, cool, the power's not clean, or somebody didn't order this, or whatever, and it's like it's fine. Like I don't really sweat it in any situation, because it's like, okay, we have resources, we'll figure it out, it's fine. But when I'm doing photo and video, it's like, okay, the show's happening. I'm in charge of me. I just got to make sure I capture it and then deliver it on time, and it's all good. So I do prefer being on that side of it. Also, like when I was younger, I played in bands and toured, and it's the same thing. It's like like any place I've been in this universe, this is definitely my favorite as far as the fit and the day to day. So yes.
Here's another thing though, being a freelancer, and especially in photography and videography, I mean, also in sound engineering, I guess,
Yes.
but you own a lot of very expensive equipment that you bring to the gig. And I always wonder if I see you work in heavy music too, and you like get down there in the people, in the mix, because you want to get the best shots. Are you ever afraid for your gear? And did you ever break something?
Um, yeah, I broke a lens on this tour. And it is
Ouch.
super expensive, but I mean, it's kind of the risk you run when you're like, okay, like, does this happen one time out of 100? Does it happen? It doesn't happen often enough that it changes kind of the cycle of new gear coming in and out anyway, because the technology is always changing, especially with camera bodies. So, like, I'm not so much like married to the gear that I'm using, where it kind of feels temporary from the get-go, although it is super expensive. Like, I know maybe a year from now, I'm probably going to be shifting to something else. So, it's, hey, if this gets me through the next year, awesome. If it doesn't, all right, we're just upgrading early. So, yeah, it's one of those things that happens, especially like on this tour with Bush. Like we're going into the crowd every single night, and sometimes it's like we were at Sonic Temple this weekend, and there was like I don't know like 40,000 people, and Gavin went into the middle, and there's crowd surfers landing on us. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is gonna work when we get out of here, but whatever. So yeah, it's a risky run, and it's fine. I think I make peace with it beforehand, so I don't get upset when it happens because it will.
And you probably have good insurance, or I hope you do.
Yeah, I mean there's insurance and there's warranties and like you usually yeah you can figure out a way to in this case Leica actually helped me out and they sent me a loaner lens like yo I totally dropped my lens and it won't attach to my camera anymore. It's like oh we got you we'll send you a loaner so you know big shout out
That
to
that
them
would
for
be
helping me out. Yeah.
that would be my next question because I know with audio gear you have resellers and you have certain people that you can call wherever you are in the world, and you
Yes.
know that there's someone from that company or associated that could help you out. So you have that with camera stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you just develop relationships with certain reps and then they usually have a contact depending where you are, you know, regionally. So in this case, I'm in the US and like I don't necessarily have a contact with that brand over here, but my Nordic contact is like, yo, I'll set you up and you know, we'll get there. So super cool to have those kind of relationships and people that, you know, step up when you
Nice.
the inevitable of things breaking happens. So yeah, very cool to have them in my corner.
You're wearing Austrian audio headphones right
These
now,
guys?
which is our favorite gear because we love Austrian audio. Big shout out.
Hell
What's
yeah.
your favorite kind of camera gear right now? What would you shout out?
Favorite right now, I mean, it's a split between, I guess I'm using Leica for most of my kind of day-to-day work. This tour, I've been using the Lumix S1R2. It's kind of their newest hybrid camera, and it's just kind of delivering on all the levels that I need to, especially with like frame rates and like other technical aspects, especially if I can get away with not using a gimbal because it has like really kick-ass stability. So it's kind of in between those two, and the hybrid cameras both share the same lens mount, so I kind of bounce back and forth. But yeah, Lumix and Leica right now are my go-tos. And then for
Nice.
audio, yeah, Austrian audio, these are fantastic.
The internet connection hasn't been the best in my apartment recently, and I don't know what's going on. So apologies if I'm late with my questions. What I wanted to ask you was I meet, as anybody in this industry, I'm sure I meet a lot of photographers at shows, and they're like, hey, can I have a photo pass and yada yada. I'm like, yeah, sure, but I mean, you're not gonna see any money from us unless we have agreed upon it before that, yada yada yada. And then they ask me, it's mostly up and coming younger photographers that want to get a foot in the door of the business. And is there any tips or any advice you would give them? I just tell them, go talk. Yeah, do the same thing that you're doing now. Just ask if it's cool to take pictures. Let the band and the TM and everybody, management, see the pictures later. And then they will decide if they want to work with you in the future for a paid job or they refer you to somebody else. But you being a pro in this, is there any advice you can give to those people out there, how to approach it?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. If you're super young and just getting into it, I think just shooting lots, going to like whatever local show or whichever local artist that'll give you an opportunity to get behind the camera during a show or promo pics or you know access to people always like you know the behind the scenes or backstage kind of stuff. And that's definitely one thing that I mean I get daily like hey I'll come be your second shooter and I just want to grab a couple pics of the band and it's like there's like just certain um like routes to take to get there. It's not really like an overnight thing as far as like access to like everything like oh I'm gonna be like shooting a stadium next week, but if you're able to like latch onto a local band and they're being a little more ambitious like go do weekends with them or shout out to publications if you can get like an online magazine or someone behind you like it's a lot easier to get a photo pass for the bigger shows, but just build a portfolio and just stay consistent and do it as often as possible. I think coming out of the pandemic, I probably shot shows for a year just to build a live portfolio. And then knowing that I did have lots of friends in the touring world, but I had zero portfolio. So it was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. We'll just go to this show and take photos or this one. And then there was Sweden Rock magazine. They were like, oh, you take pretty great photo. Can you go cover this show for us? So it was just kind of like a natural progression that I think is the best place to start. You just take lots of photos as often as possible, and develop your own style and aesthetic. But there's yeah, you definitely have to go after it and create those opportunities.
Is there anything like
Right.
off site that you can do to improve your photo skills? Because I mean, I can sit at home and fuck around with my desk or watch YouTube videos of like, I don't know, audio companies of explaining stuff. Is there anything people can do if they don't have access to shows or that many shows to shoot or try things out at? What could they do?
So I think like there's two things. One is definitely like the amount of like information available on YouTube is incredible. Like I'll spend an entire day watching, like 15 hours of video on like how to just do one certain thing in Premiere and just up your skills that way. I also like in the photography world, I was super fortunate to have like a mentor during COVID that would just straight shoot me all the time. Like I'd be like, yo, did I fuck this up? He'd be like, yeah, you kind of fucked that up. So to have somebody be like brutally honest with you and like develop those skills where you're like, oh, yeah, I kind of blew it, didn't I? But not just that you blew it, like how you might have blown it or how you could have improved. So I think being open to like a critique or like review of your work regularly to keep yourself in check is super important. And that can be just you just find someone whose taste you trust and just ask them. It's like, hey, what do you think about what's going on here? And they'll be like, ah. I think a big one for me was that a good friend was like, yo, dude, there's a lot of green in your photos. I'm like, what do you mean there's a lot of green in my photos? And I'm like, there is a lot of green in my photos. You know what? You're right. I can dial back the green. So I think yeah, like this like brutal honesty and transparency is a big one. Plus the access to like all the information online. There's so much. There's so many talented people making videos and tutorials and even just like how to get started. So it's a really cool time to be able to have access to all of that stuff. 20 years ago it didn't exist.
Here's maybe a very relevant question concerning the whole there's a lot of things on the internet. There is AI now. Do you think that as a photographer, you're kind of threatened by it because they can compose all kinds of pictures that are not real, but they can make it look very real?
So while there's part of me that's like, wow, that's super impressive. And sometimes one gets by, I'm like, I didn't even realize that was AI. But I mean, you spend time, you can still tell, but it's constantly getting better. I think as far as the live event, and like concert tour photography and coverage, people want as authentic of an experience as possible. So I'm not necessarily concerned that like my job's at risk or future or other like photo videographers touring with bands jobs are at risk from AI because um, people always want that as true to the experience as possible. They want to relive it, or if they weren't there, they want to see what happened. So you're covering real things, whereas I think a lot of the AI is just like feeding into like very short term like entertainment or like content, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, not directly. I was doing some more like kind of like e-commerce and like fashion and product photography, and a lot of that has disappeared. Where companies are opting for AI or they just do it in-house, or it's like this is close enough, and then AI will take it to 100%. So there's definitely a shift, but I think it's going to keep shifting along with the way that we consume media. So right now it's Instagram and TikTok, like whatever the next thing is. You just kind of roll with it. Like 20 years, 30 years ago, it was magazines, it was newspapers. So I think just the way we consume it's going to change, but not the capturing of it and sharing it.
That's good. That's a positive outlook.
I think so. I mean, like there's a lot with AI that's pretty grim, but I think is there the pendulum's got to swing the other way at some point, like the same way people like gravitate towards like vinyl or like film photography. They want like this true experience, and I think there's always going to be an area of people that do want that and appreciate it.
And I'm late again. I don't know what's going on. Sorry again. But
No, it's all
I
good.
feel like I feel like these days also there's way more budget or bands are more likely to spend money on a photographer. I remember years ago they were like, "Oh, yeah, if you want to have a photographer, that person has to do some other stuff too. They cannot just take photos and stuff because yeah, it's just a pricey thing for just having some person do one job. And now with all Instagram, social media, and everything, I think everybody's willing to spend more money on that organic experience you just talked about, because it's hard to capture that feeling of the live crowd, or it's hard to make AI create the same thing that feels the same way, feel organic in that situation. So now I've noticed that photographers are more often on tour buses than years ago, like because
Yeah,
it's
one
so
of the
Yeah,
important
first
for
people
bands
to
now.
be booked is a photographer.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like mandatory now, just the way and the volume and shelf life. Like it's, you cover one night and it's got 24 hours and you're on to the next show. Whereas, like back in the day, it would like, a photo had a lot longer shelf life. Like it would become iconic because it was like, oh, this we grabbed this at this show and it like, that would get sent out to magazines for months. Whereas now, just like the rate of consumption, it's like not to say it's so much disposable, but people are just consuming so much so often that having that daily coverage and being able to share what happened last night or like even a few hours ago is much more valued. Not necessarily by
Yeah,
everyone. I mean, you still have people coming like, hey, can you do photo, video, social media, do merch, and our VIP program? And it's just like, that's like five jobs, but probably no. I can't. And they will find somebody that'll be like, "Yep, I'm in. Let's do it." And they're definitely gonna barf on the bus.
lately
Yeah.
all of the tours that I did
Yeah.
had, no matter how big or small, had a photographer and videographer on it, and that was the
Yep.
person that had the most working hours because the bands need so much media to put out. So,
Mm.
shout out Jamie, the guy that did photo and video on my last tour. He
Hell
was
yeah.
literally working like 20 hours a day because
Yeah.
he was my roomie, and I would already go to bed and sleep because we only had like 5 or 6 hours of sleep until we had to go again, and he would still edit,
Mhm.
and and then he would render while he slept, and he would wake him in the morning and keep doing it. He never shot that goddamn MacBook. Like it was working 24/7 basically. It was insane. Like I think the job has changed.
Yeah, it has. It's a very like labor intensive, but I also think if you love it and you're built for it, it doesn't feel like you spent 18 hours in front of a laptop, and then a couple hours capturing. But yeah, just the volume and depending on the tour, because sometimes you are doing VIP, like covering that, or there's like video IDs for like shoutouts or like upcoming shows and promo. So it's always different depending on the tour. But yeah, even at bare minimum, just coverage is it's a lot of hours, and you want to keep it fresh, and you don't want to just get into a cycle where you're just kind of going through the motions and like, yeah, here's like the same photos with the same videos and trying to find ways to stay on brand, represent the band, represent the experience, but also shake it up and keep it interesting. So even when you're not working, your brain's still going like, okay, what are we gonna do tomorrow? What's the plan? We did this, no, we did that. So maybe we should, we'll go this direction today. So yeah, it is very labor intensive, but I think if you love it and your brain is of wired in a certain way where that comes naturally, it just works. And for some people, it's there, and for others, yeah, I can see how it's more of a struggle.
Well, I personally thought it was very impressive, especially on that last tour. Do you ever, like when you go on tour, have time to like explore or just hang with the guys or, have like a moment for yourself?
Yeah, and I try to do that like pretty intentionally. So it's like if I know that we have a day off, it's I'll make sure I get done everything that I need to do. And it can be any level of ambition from like I think there was the last Sabaton tour I did, like a few of us like rented a car and like went out to Sedona and just like a couple of the other guys are also photographers. So it's like let's just go have like a photo day and like get some awesome food and days like that it's great because you're still like you're at work and you're still picking up a camera, but it's just a different vibe and feeling, and even like especially in Europe because a lot of the venues are more central and downtown. Like if I have an hour where I can grab a coffee and just like go that way and just take some street photos, for me that's like that's like the best hour ever. Where it's like yeah, cool, that was great. All right, back to work. But yeah, you just kind of try and find time for yourself, and like I'll book like fun shoots with like friends and models, and just like meet up with people. And I think it's just yeah, you do little things, so yeah, you stay fresh and in a super positive and creative headspace.
That sounds like to recharge your batteries, you work more.
In
But
in a
that's
lot of
okay if
ways, yeah.
that's what you do. That's what you do. Hey, why
But
not?
then if I'm
Um,
home, it's been like, okay, I'm just gonna take the dog for like a 5 hour walk in the forest and like disappear and totally disengage from like I don't want to see my phone, I don't want to see a camera, I don't want to see my computer. I just want
Mm.
to, just we're just here, we're totally present. So yeah, maybe I operate in extremes and
yeah,
probably work
you
too
need
much,
that
but
extreme opposite.
yeah.
When you're on tour, do you have, we always ask our guests, when you're on tour, do you have a certain snack that you absolutely need sometimes because you're like stressed or exhausted? Something like, I always have like a very cold Coke Zero to like keep me going. Is there anything that you really
Definitely a fan
like?
of Coke Zero. So on this Bush tour, Chris, Nick, and I have a group called the Gelato Boys, where we, depending where we are, we seek out the most
Could be a
luxurious
band.
gelato we can find. And it could be a band, uh, but yeah, yeah,
Gelato.
fine.
What's your
Or like,
flavor? What's your flavor? There's only
um,
one right answer for me.
there's only one right answer. Okay. I mean, what I had a gelato last night. It was like a brown sugar cookie dough brownie. I'll just go over the top. Like as many words as you can fit
Oh.
into the title. I'm like, that's that one. That's what we're doing today.
I'm like, the answer
Okay,
is
but what's the right
pistachio.
answer? Pistachio is pretty great.
That's the best.
That's right. Have you ever had any experience on tour that was extremely either fucked up, funny, straight up dangerous, sad? Anything that stands out or that you can think of when we're asking that question? Is there anything where like this one time on tour was so fucking whatever? A
I mean,
story
when I
that you
was
want to share, you don't have to name names, but
I think is more, I mean, in more like recent years, like things are generally like pretty chill, super organized. When you're touring with bands that are, more established, have their shit together, and like there's not as many variables for shit shows. But I'll go back to like 22 years ago when I was touring in as a bass player in a metalcore band, and it's just like, like, oh, okay, we need to drive 17 hours. We have $0, and like you have no food, you're just sleeping in parking lots and floors, and I think there was like it was like 10 years of just like somehow functioning and doing this like every day, like and playing hundreds or not like thousands of shows on like absolutely like zero budget or certainty, or like you don't get paid, or like the show gets canceled when you get there, and like all of these like scenarios that like I can look back now and like really appreciate how organized and together and fantastic things are. So it's not so much like one specific story because it was absolute insanity back then. It was also before smartphones, and I don't know, a lot's happened since then and now that I don't know if I can specifically remember. But yeah, it was pretty wild how yeah, we were able to pull it off the way we did, and then still be going 20 plus years later, and it's a completely different universe where it's like, whoa, I have like a hotel and there's food, and like I slept last night. That's crazy. Yeah, definitely something I reflect on. It's just like the general change in environment.
But hey, you've worked hard and for a very long time to be at where you're at right now. And I
hell yeah.
personally am a big fan of all your pictures and I religiously look at them
Thanks.
on the internet every time you
Likewise, a
post
big
it.
fan of you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So what's next for you? You're finishing up the tour with Bush and or you just finished it up?
Yeah, we have a festival and a couple headliners this weekend in California, and then I think we have like 10 days off, and we have festivals in Europe again with Bush, some headliners in Germany, Download Fest, and then it's a couple of weeks off, and then all summer with Arch Enemy, and then all fall into December with Sabaton. So super busy year, and yeah, just kind of trying to make sure I make time for like myself and family and everything in between because yeah, I mean I love it, but it is definitely that extreme where it's like, oh, there's work, yeah, I'll do more, sure, yeah, absolutely. Um, but yeah, super busy year, so super very cool.
That, I mean, sounds pretty cool, and I hope we can catch you on the road at some point. You're definitely at the nicer
Yeah, definitely.
festivals. But yeah, we'll see. I hope our paths
I'm
cross again.
I'm sure our paths will cross somewhere out there. It's too small of a universe.
I think so too.
It's
Funny enough, and I
it's
think
very
he
small
needs an
universe.
honorary mention because we talk about him all the time. Vicky's fiance Kenny
Yes.
is just on tour with you because he's with Mammoth.
Yeah,
Red
yeah,
Mammoth,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, we
So
were
yeah,
at
once again, small world.
such a small world because I think I told you that like Kenny and I were like chatting literally the day before you asked me about doing the podcast and talking about how small of a world was because we were just kind of reflecting. He's like, like, how did you get in? It's like, I was touring with As Lay Dying. He's like, no, I used to tour with As Lay Dying, and then it's just like, yeah, of course we did. So it really is funny how small of a world is and how everybody's like connected and knows everybody. So
Yeah, which is
it's always
also
cool
how
to
we
like
met because you were on
exactly,
tour with
right?
Azalea Dying
Yeah.
on the same tour that I was at.
Yeah, that was a great tour. So fun.
Oh yeah, way too short. It was the Never Say Die. I don't even know if they do those anymore, the Empiricon tours. I
Oh,
haven't
really?
seen
Yeah, it was
any.
super, but yeah, it wasn't long enough. It could have gone another 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we've almost reached our 30-minute mark. We have one last question for you,
Okay, all right.
Vicky. If you're in the same time zone right now, do you want to ask the question?
I don't even know which universe I'm in right now because my internet is so laggy.
Fair.
Last question. Yeah, so bad. Last question would be, what is your road jam? The one song that you listen to and you're like, okay, I gotta get in the zone. We're touring again, baby. This is the jam you're playing. What is it? One song. Choose wisely. We judge you.
Wow, one song. I mean, okay, give me a moment. What it has to be. No, honestly I don't know. I don't think I have one. I think my brain's too all over the place. And it's like, maybe I'm just gonna listen to death metal, or maybe no, I don't know. I don't know if I have one. It's a horrible answer. I'm gonna open Spotify. Let's see what I listened to most
What's the
recently, because
last
it's
song
probably
you
Okay.
listened to on Spotify?
okay. Let's
That could
find
be really
that.
embarrassing. It would be for me.
No, actually I was listening to the new Saison. I was out for a run, so
Oh,
That is a
nice.
great answer.
Hell yeah.
keeping it in
Love
the family.
Saosin.
So I mean, yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, it was so nice to do so much with them last year, and like yeah, they have that new song kicks ass, and like they have so many dates, and yeah, very exciting time for those guys, and that new track's awesome. Great running tune. So I was like running down Hollywood Boulevard and listening to the new track, and yeah, great
On your
vibes.
Austrian audio
On
headphones.
my Austrian audio headphones, listening to the fellas. So yeah, so right now, yeah, that song's heavy rotation.
Very nice. Good answer. Well, thank you so
All
much,
right.
Ben, for doing this. I
Thanks for
think
having me.
I
No, I
don't
appreciate you both, big time.
Thank
we
you.
didn't have a lot of photographers on here yet, and it's really super interesting. The work you guys do
Sure.
is intense and really
Go,
amazing.
cool, awesome. Thanks. I appreciate you guys including me, and yeah, very cool.
Thank you so much, Ben, and hopefully catch you on the road very soon and be
Hey,
safe.
hell
Have a
yeah,
great
hopefully.
rest of the year.
Only a matter of time. Thanks, you too.
That's very
Bye.
Later.